Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with my crowd. Buy me a psychedelic peanut and a cracker jack. I just know I will always come back, 'cause it's root for disclosure. Without that we'll all be ashamed, 'cause it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, we're all out in the new ball game.
When I woke up this morning about 3:30, my mind was kind of conflicted. I kind of was waking up trying to think of, okay, here comes a big day today, but what is this big day going to be? The UFO All-Stars is coming out. Okay, I get that. I realized I need to do something about my UFO experiences to tie into this whole thing. But before I jump into that, I've got to tell you what happened in September. For 8 days, I just laid in bed. I don't know what was going on with me. I was just kind of tired, I guess. I don't know. And then this morning, right when I was thinking about this, YouTube, this part on Carl Jung shows up. And it's all about lying down. And well, here's the coincidence I really need to touch upon, and here it is. So, what are you saying in this YouTube feed this morning just fit exactly, because this is where I was at, because my subconscious mind was telling me that it's time for a change. And to rest is what you need to do sometimes before you can make these changes in your life. You just sometimes, we just get overloaded with all this other stuff, and then to break free of it, sometimes you just gotta take a non-chill pill, so to speak, and relax. And that's what I did for 8 days. Lost a bunch of weight, and I knew something different was coming in my life, but I really didn't know exactly, because when I got involved in trying to do this YouTube stuff, I didn't know anything about it at all, really. I'm a neophyte. I was quite innocent to the whole process. And so here I am today, going to talk about a couple of different UFO experiences I had, because this is what I really want to talk about from the beginning. And it just so, I'm going to jump from one thing to another, so bear with me, but because it's all going to come out together at one time at the end of this little narration I've got going. You'll understand why, because the synchronicity of events in this situation is just hard to imagine. So, in 1979, I was sailing back with 3 of my best friends, all graduated from La Jolla High School in 1971. Tom Byerly, Johnny Clark, and Louis Beecham. Lewis's wife, Debbie Melville, is the championship surfer all time. Johnny Clark still has the best ERA in La Jolla High history, 0.95 for his senior year. And Tom Byerly, he's Mr. Everything, Most handsome guy in the class, quarterback, track star. These guys are my really good friends. So anyway, we got some guy says, hey, you want to take a boat back from Honolulu back to San Diego? Transpac after it was over? And we all said, yeah. So we all flew over there, sat there and watched as these guys sailed the boats into the Honolulu Yacht Club, and one by one they get off the boat and start throwing punches. We sit there drinking rum or tequila or whatever, just going, oh my God, look at these guys, they're all going nuts. I mean, how did they make it across all the way from Pacific Coast to Hawaii? And they get off the boat and they start punching it out. So it's kind of interesting to see that display when we first got there. So anyway, what happened was we went to Kauai and we stayed 4 or 5 days. Just, it was really interesting to be on a boat, and you have to a couple hundred yards offshore, so you're swimming to and from the shore. And my girlfriend in 6th grade, when it was Margot Godfrey is her name, Margot Oberg. And she won her first surfing contest at Pacific Beach Open. And then next year, she won the world championship. So there we are on the boat, and all of a sudden, she comes paddling up. She goes, Tom, Bo? There we are out in the middle, just of Kauai. And that was kind of really interesting, because that's the last time I saw her. And this was August 1st, 1979. So then a couple of days there, and we're really pissed off the locals when they challenged us to a race. And a paddle, like you see on Hawaii 5-0, and we beat them. I mean, these guys have been practicing their whole lives, and we hop in and practice for one day, and we beat them. So that didn't go over too well. So anyway, we got in the boat and started heading back to California. And I was the least, experienced sailor of the group. First 5 days, man, it's storming, we're slamming, it's a flat boat, and we keep going and we're going and going. And so after we reach in the doldrums, and there's just, there's no wind, there's nothing. And thank God Johnny was a mechanic, and he kept the engine going. So we're just putting across the Pacific Ocean. We'd been out there for 2 weeks, and we brought one bottle with us on the boat, and we drank that after about a week. So we didn't have any stimulus at all out there. It was just nature and catching tons of fish, ahi tuna. We're just flipping them in the boat, and just an incredible experience. And we used to do 4 hours on, 4 hours off, or what, depending on who was tired and who wasn't. But after we'd been out there for over 2 weeks, I estimate it was August 16th or 17th, maybe 18th, but I don't think so. It was 16th or 17th, August 1979. So I did my 6 in the morning till 10 o'clock. And I got up after sitting down a time and started stretching out. My friend Lewis sits behind me. And while we're out there, strangely enough, you're putting around. We got binoculars, and we turn into junk collectors. I mean, what are you going to do out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? All this stuff's just floating around. And then, and so guess what? This guy right here, and this guy right here. I found these out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean during this trip home with my binoculars. So I get up and I'm looking out as a junk collector, looking out, see if there's anything on the horizon. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, this thing comes right at me, 20 feet over the boat. A 40-foot opaque tube goes right over my shoulder. And by the time I look over my shoulder, it's already on the horizon. I saw it for count of 3, maybe. And I said to my buddy Lewis, "Did you just see that thing that flew over the boat?" And he's going, "No, Bobo, what are you talking about?" I go, "You didn't see that?" He was looking down. It didn't make a sound, no wind, no nothing. And it was like 20 to 25 feet over the boat, but it came like straight right between my eyes. And, I'm talking like a crazy person for 3 hours, and it's like, what happened? Nothing happened. Okay, well, geez, strange. So we keep sailing. A couple nights later, I see a light, like this, just in the middle of the night. And so I said, "Hey, we just saw a light go over there," and they're looking at me like, "Okay, really? Yeah. Well, let's sail to the north. We don't want to go down to Mexico, go to the right and go south. So just sail to the north." So all night long we're sailing, we see this light, and then what do you know? We come sailing right up to a nuclear aircraft carrier. And the guys are yelling, like, "What are you guys doing down there, you dumb?" And we're just sailing along looking at this huge thing. We sail right by it. 3 days later, we're back in San Diego. And end of story. I weighed 172 pounds, dropped about almost 20 pounds out there, eating just raw fish and a little bit of rice. And just, we caught so much tuna, it was great. The whole boat was filled with it. So that's what basically we lived on. So anyway, so that was an interesting story. But remember, saw this thing, nuclear aircraft carrier. How many miles out were we? We were out there a ways, at least a couple 100 miles, because it took us 3 or 4 days to get to San Diego. So forgot all about it. No big deal, right? So then, December 7th, 2017, this article comes out in the New York Times about all these unidentified UAPs, UFOs that the Navy is encountering. So the big story is about David Fravor and the Tic Tac UFO. So I'm sitting around on my couch, okay, I'm watching this, and they do the reenactment. 2004, off the coast of San Diego, 200 miles, and they show what happened. How they had been monitoring this UFO for 2 days at 80,000 feet. In less than a second and a half, 2 seconds, it drops all the way to the ocean. So they send the 2 F-14s to go check it out. And Fravor's wingman was a woman, and she stayed up here, and he went down and goes, "I'm gonna go check this thing out." So they do this whole spinning around, checking each other out, and then this UFO is just gone. And I went, well, what the hell was that? Okay, well, let's go back to our rendezvous point, which was like 75 miles an hour, 75 miles away. So they go there, and this thing is just sitting there waiting for them. And guess what? It's what I saw in the middle of the Pacific Ocean 25 years earlier, the Tic Tac UFO, the thing that I could almost touch. So, hear me out, gang. And watching all this stuff over the last, what, 8 years now? How many years of it? 2017, 18 when I first saw this thing, when they first put it out on the History Channel. So we're looking, that many years ago, 8 years ago now. And I'm the closest person that's ever been near that Tic Tac. So it's a true story. Take it all the way to the bank if you want to, because I'm right there, believe me. That was, and I didn't even know what I saw when I first saw it, because who knew? But it's now the most documented, the most talked about UFO story, and I'm the closest person that's ever been to that thing. So in 1983, this is my next sort of UFO encounter experience. I flew down there to go do modeling business in February 1973. And I was picked up by a buddy, Peter Economides, and his Greek family. His younger brother, Kos, was a photographer. And these people took me in and treated me like family. And one day Peter goes, "You want to go to the war?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'd love to." Well, there was this huge war going on down there between the Cubans and the Russians and the French and the Americans and South Africans on the West Coast. Not Namibia, but the one above it. What's it called? I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, so I said, "I'd love to, but I got to work that day." So he comes back and I said, "Hey, how was it?" And he goes, "Well, it was great. Great to see all my friends," because he was leaving Johannesburg to take over McCann Erickson in Hong Kong. So I was his wingman all the time, partying, and oh my God, we had so much fun. This guy was the most popular guy in Johannesburg, and I was his new buddy, and we had so much fun together. But he tells me the story that when he went out to talk to all his friends in the military, they said, "Well, what's news?" And he goes, "Well, we shot one down." And he goes, "It wasn't one of theirs, it wasn't one of ours, it was one of theirs." And he tells the story about how these guys went, this Exocet missile, French missile, shot this UFO down. They went to get it, and the 6 guys that went down to check it out, they got radiation poisoning and died. So they call up the Americans. They truck the thing up to Pretoria, and the Americans pick this thing up and take it back to the United States, this UFO that was shot down. And I go, "Wow, interesting story. Good story." 20 years later, I'm listening to Coast to Coast late night, and a South African guy gets on the radio for an hour and tells this exact story. Okay, just another little tidbit of information you can put in your hat, like I do all the time, stick stuff in my head and remember it. My next UFO encounter is really a trippy one, and this one happened right here in La Jolla, December 27th, 1997. It was in April was the year of the Phoenix Lights, when all those UFOs were flying over Phoenix. So here I am, 2 days after Christmas, walking my little West Highland Terrier, Roscoe, what a great little buddy he was. And my front doorstep, look out, and it's a clear night. First thing I see is a shooting star. I go, "Wow, that's cool." So we're walking around the corner, and just, he's doing his thing. And I thought, well, let me see. Maybe I can see another shooting star. So I folded my arms and looked straight up. And right over my head is a diamond-shaped, V-shaped craft. White lights on each side, one in the middle, and red lights on the back. And it's going 35 miles an hour right over downtown La Jolla and Torrey Pines Road, and heading right out to sea. And I could see it from the reflection of the lights on the street, on the main street in La Jolla, Torrey Pines Road. And I went, wow, okay, heard about these things. So during this time, I was a caregiver. From 1992 until everybody died in my family, I was busy restoring this old house, which will be 100 years old in another 5 years, and taking care of my mom, who had diabetes and was going blind. And my older brother was a junkie. And I mean, I was so busy dealing with family stuff and being a caregiver and just making sure everybody died with grace. And I did all that for my mother, father, and both brothers. So in 2007, 10 years after this UFO sighting I had, I finally had enough time to call Mutual UFO Network and tell them the story. I said, wow, that's interesting. Will you fill out this piece of paper and send it back in? I said, yeah, sure. So that's what I did. Filled out the story, sent it to them, and a woman calls me up. She goes, that's a great story, but we think it's one of ours. I went, really? Wow. Interesting. Okay. She invited me to go up and talk about it, and up in Orange County, up in Santa Ana, or wherever it was. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to bother with that one. No, maybe one day, but not now. So anyway, a month later, 9:30 on a February morning, like it is right now, it's like 80 degrees. And there's a knock on the door, and I'm just getting out of the shower, and I'm still wet. I put a towel around me. I walk to the door. I've got an old big door, and it's got a little frame, and open it up, and I'm all wet and dripping. I said, there's a man standing there, and I go up. Can I help you? And he says, shows me his badge. He is from the government. He's wearing a white shirt, black tie, black raincoat, black pants, and black shoes. And I said, look, right now is not the best time, but maybe tomorrow. Okay, I'll come back tomorrow. So he comes down, he starts asking me questions about the neighborhood. I'm like, well, what do you want to know? Well, we talk about this, everything's cool. Get along with everybody. Been here in this house since 1962. And he says, well, what do you do? I explained to him I'd been a caregiver and all that sort of stuff. And, I have family in England. I'd like to go. Are you going to go see them in England anytime? No, I'd like to, but I don't have a ticket. I'm not planning on going. He goes like, well, okay. So he's just questioning me, feeling me out about whatever. I don't even know. So after about 20 minutes, offer a cup of tea, whatever. He doesn't drink anything. He just gets up, makes a couple notes, gets in his men in black outfit, and leaves. I thought, what was that all about? Thought about it for a little while. That's odd. So anyway, about a month later, I have I've been restoring old cars. It's a hobby. Got some nice ones. And this guy pulls up and he said, man, I love your cars. Always want to talk to you about your cars. And I said, good. So we're sitting there shooting the you-know-what for about 10, 15 minutes. And then he looks at me and goes, also came here to talk to you about something else. I said, what? He goes, listen, for 30 years I've been doing surveillance for the federal government. And he goes, and I was at a cocktail party recently, and I was approached by a group of people. And they wanted me to videotape your house 24 hours a day. I'm like, what? What? I'm living here by myself, and there's nothing to really videotape, at least I don't think, unless somebody's seeing these UFOs flying over my house that I don't know about. So he goes, listen, man, beware. I told him to get them off your back. I was going to charge them 30 grand. So they backed off, and he goes, look, beware, man. You got some messed up neighbors. So I thought, wow, that is a trip. So the men in black come to my house. Here's National Security Agency, NSA. Forgot the 3 letters for a second. And did my best to forget about it. And then I had a dream. And this dream was so vivid that when I woke up, I was so grateful. This is what happened. I watched a blacked out bus go down the street here and take a guy in who wasn't even my friend. I knew him. He had a McLaren, restored old McLaren, fake one, plastic, whatever it is. And they took him away. I went, oh, that's weird. And then in the dream, they came back and got me. And they put me in the van, and this guy was in the van with about 7 or 8 other guys. And we're like, what's going on here? And they said, we're taking you to a re-educational camp outside of El Paso, Texas. I'm like, what the hell? And when I woke up from that dream, I was completely freaked out because it was so real. So I thought to myself, man, maybe I better just back off and not talk about any of this stuff, because that dream scared the you-know-what out of me, man. I was petrified. So here it is, and all of a sudden, the Tic Tac UFO story comes up, and this other story, I'm just thinking, well, eventually I've got to tell this story because I really have firsthand knowledge. Oh yeah, and also that V-shaped craft that I'm just due west of Top Gun Miramar Air Force Base is right behind me here. So if that UFO, whatever that thing took off, it left the Air Force Base, which is directly right over the shoulder, right there. And anyway, evidently, in the documentary, The Age of Disclosure, there's a piece in there that describes how all these generals saw that UFO out at Miramar. So, wow, there's another one of these things that, you don't know. But the coincidences, they keep coming together, the synchronicity of events, which has happened in my life over and over and over again. So that's why I'm here, man, to talk to you guys about what is really going on. So when any of these people start talking about, oh, this disclosure stuff, are you kidding? You gotta be kidding. So there's just a couple of different YouTube pieces you've got to watch if you haven't seen them. So 2 years ago, the first one was Tim Gallaudet. Okay, you know who he is? He's from La Jolla here. He works at Scripps Institute, and he was a one-star, and he ran for the Navy. He's like the top guy doing all the UFOs, underwater UFO stuff. And the one he's talking to a pilot there, and the name of the podcast is Merced Podcast. 2 years ago with Tim Gallaudet, and it truly, this disclosure stuff, it truly is the story of the 21st century of what's going on here. And also, 1 year ago, Michikaku is on with the guy from Australia, Ross Coulthart, and that is, he says the same thing. This story of disclosure and the non-human contact with this on this planet is a real thing. And they really hope that Congress and these people, bipartisanship for once in our messed up country here, can get their SH1T together and get this story out to the people, because this has to be disclosed. And I truly hope that this current administration will push us in the right direction, because it seems like they're doing everything else with these positive things that seem that, at least in my opinion, positive things. Maybe I might be wrong, but I doubt it. I study international relations. I travel the world a lot of the time. I have many Persian friends, and today it looks like since 1979, I was in Washington, D.C. at Ronald Reagan's inaugural ball when the hostages were let out of prison there in 1980 when Ronald Reagan became president. So I've been aware of the world situation more so than most people. And I can tell you that because I lived in Europe for 10 years. And in my future podcast, I'm going to tell you what happened. 84th anniversary of the D-Day invasion. I was there. My best friend ran the thing for Reagan, and I was on Air Force One that time. And then the next year when I met Mikhail Gorbachev, just me and my dog walking in Paris. That's a good story too. So when I tell you I have a different perspective, it's the Italians say, sempre in giro. That's what I used to do all the time, man. And I've lived my life, and I'm back here now, and I'm glad you guys are digging it, because I'm almost at 80,000, 79,000, I don't know, something this morning, whatever it was. And I'm so touched by the fact that all of you people seem to, I'd be telling these stories and you resonate with me, man. And I'm totally stunned and really enjoying what's happening here. And I've got some other really good stories to tell you. So stick with me, stick with my little doggy here, because he's going to tell you something soon here on Valentine's Day. You're going to find, did he really just say that? All right, gang, hang in there, man. Be in touch. These koozies are the classic, man. SIP with the La Jolla logo on here, our high school colors, and on the back side, all great minds drink alike. And you know what that means. Time for a big sip. So, ciao, amigos. Talk to you soon.